Hey y'all, my makeup's a little messed up because I ate and I got lipstick on my chin, so just ignore that. It's not going to matter for this video. I want to come on here and talk about something that happened last week that made the news. It happened in Orlando. And I think pretty much everybody probably across the United States has heard about it at this point, but maybe not. Maybe not. It's something that's been overshadowed by the Will Smith and Chris Rock thing that happened on Sunday, obviously. But I have waited this long, and I wasn't going to talk about it, but I am going to talk about it because I am a roller coaster enthusiast and a theme park enthusiast, and I have had my doubts and my fears in the past of the construction and the engineering and the safety of theme park rides. And in more recent years, I have been very impressed by all of the safety precautions and all of the technology and the improvements that roller coaster technology and park rides for the parks, flat rides and stuff. The technology has come so far in the last 10 years. It's been absolutely insane what they can do and have it still be really safe. And because I worked up my knowledge on that, it made me not as scared to ride some of these roller coasters and rides and stuff. So it's times like these, when these kind of things happen, what I'm about to talk about, that make me question if I should be relying on these rides and the staff and everything and the engineers. Should I rely on them all the 100% that I'm going to be okay on this ride, that it's not going to fail me? Which I think it's going to make a lot of people a little bit freaked out. If you do not want to hear something about someone dying, then please turn this video off. Don't watch it. I don't want to trigger anybody. I feel like that's something we have to remind people of today, because it is about someone dying. So what happened was last Thursday, a 14-year-old boy, it was at nighttime. There was a guy filming it because he was filming his friend on the ride, I think, or something. And this 14-year-old boy, who was larger set of a person, he's like a quarterback on his football team, I believe, or at least he played football. So he was a big guy for a 14-year-old, especially, but a big guy. And on the descent of the ride, you know what a drop tower is, right? It goes up, they'll hang you for a little bit. This one inverts a little bit, so it's gonna angle you downward, and then you come down. It's a lot like Falcon's Fury, I believe, at Busch Gardens, Tampa, which is really tall, and this one's taller than it. It's crazy tall. So he fell out on the descent, and I didn't watch the actual real video, the full video, until about an hour ago. And it wasn't much different than what I expected it to be. I shouldn't have watched it. There's something about me that feels dirty and disrespectful to have even watched that. But in my mind, I wanted to know how it happened and when it happened and what exactly happened, because it concerns me and my relationship with roller coasters and theme parks and flat rides and just any rides in general. It makes me wonder how this happened. It makes me wonder if I should trust, like I just said, if I should trust, the ride operators and the theme parks and the everybody who's over the jurisdiction of these rides and their safety. But this kid fell out, and of course he died. He didn't fall the full 400 feet. It looked like they got maybe a little bit over halfway down, and he finally just eventually slid out and kind of just, flew out and hit the ground. And I don't think you should go watch the video, but I did. I don't encourage you to, but it is out there, and I hate that it's out there. I don't think that the guy filming it meant for it to get put everywhere online. I don't know. I don't really know the full story of that. All I know is that he was filming his friend, I believe, on it. So he wasn't filming it just because that happened. He was filming it and just happened to be filming it when it happened. So I wouldn't be sending him any hate because he just happened to be filming when it happened. But he did continue to film. But I think it was probably a good thing that he did film for just, a minute or so, because that's going to be good evidence in a court case, which I'm sure there will probably be a court case, because I can't imagine how there wouldn't be some kind of investigation and some kind of court case, because these parents lost their 14-year-old kid who was getting so close to being an adult and getting to, go out and do his own thing, and he didn't even ever get to that point. He didn't get to graduate high school. It's just really depressing. He was just going to have a night of fun. He wasn't doing anything wrong. They let him ride the ride. They said that it turned green. They were good to go. So he didn't know. He didn't ask for this. Don't blame it on him. Like, he didn't ask for it. Getting on a ride, you're going to assume that it's safe. And, well, everybody was wrong when they assumed that it was safe. So that's what happened. He fell. He died. It's just a really morbid video. But anyway, I'm going to check that off on my list. I'm trying to make a list so I can talk about things properly. Before I talk any more about this, I want to send my condolences to his family, his friends, anybody who knew him, anybody that knew of him. It really sucks. My thoughts and prayers go out to, as well, the people that were riding the ride or that witnessed it, because my God, I cannot imagine being there and seeing that in person. Watching the videos hard enough, but it was so dark and everything. Seeing it with your own eyes, it's got to be much more graphic, and I cannot imagine that would probably ruin theme parks for me completely for a very long time, if not forever. I mean, I cannot imagine. But my thoughts are also with the crew and the people that were running that ride, the rider operators, because I don't think it was, it obviously wasn't intentional. I don't think that they were purposefully, being too, relaxed with the rules and stuff. I honestly think that from other videos and other coaster enthusiasts that I've heard talk about this, I really do believe that, they were told to do a certain thing. You got to check this, and this. If that's all green and the computer says it's good to go, you're good to go. So they're like, okay, we checked everything. All seems good. Go. That's what they're trained to do. They're not trained to sit there and analyze every little part and be like, the ride says yes, but I don't know. Now, obviously, they can say that if they think something's wrong, but they didn't seem to have a cause for concern, so they let it happen. But I don't want to blame it on them. I don't think anybody should be blaming it on them, because, like I said, I think that they were just doing what they were told to do, and it didn't happen to be the right thing. So yeah, I want to send my thoughts and prayers to all those people. So if you look at there's somebody took a picture. It's a very kind of blurry picture before it took off, and he's sitting there, and you can kind of tell that you've got the shoulder restraints, and then you've got your hips and your body and stuff in the seat. Usually there's a leg divider. I'm pretty sure that was there as well. And usually that helps as well to keep you from sliding out from under your seat. And then this is going to keep this part of your body in place. So even if you tried to slide out, you couldn't, because it's keeping your hips in place. And these don't have seat belts. I don't know if any drop towers have seat belts. And most roller coasters do have like a backup, but a lot of the new like Giga coasters or whatever, they have like a little lap bar that comes down, and it's kind of like a motorcycle, but it kind of fits around you like a booster seat for like a child, like a high chair or something. Like it like fits down over you, and then you've got these big pieces on the side, and that all locks you in place to where you have like a complete circle around your legs. So either way you try to go, your knees won't let you go, and then your torsos, your hips aren't able to slide that way. And there shouldn't be any much of a gap at all, maybe a little bit, but there shouldn't be like a huge gap, because then, you know, you would have the possibility of moving out of position and falling. Gosh, Emmy scratched me a minute ago. Ow! Cat scratched me. I shouldn't have laughed. I'm sorry. I laugh sometimes in awkward situations when I'm talking about something serious sometimes. It's just kind of a thing. It's how I cope, I guess. So I'm sorry if I do that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But anyway, this ride only had the shoulder restraint, and then, of course, the shape of the seat that's supposed to aid in keeping the person in the right position for the ride. It looked like that he was probably a little too big, and that's not to be insulting. That's just kind of how it goes. You can be too small and you can be too big for a roller coaster or for a flat ride. And it did look as if he probably was not properly in there, but I'm not here to sit and judge, because I don't work for the park. I don't work for that ride. I don't work for any park or any ride. And to the human eye, knowing what we know now, we look at it and we're like, okay, it's obvious. But had he not fallen out, would it have been obvious? Like, would we be even thinking about that? You know, I think it's easy to say that by looking at the picture after you know that he fell out. So we don't know what the ride operators have seen in the past of what different sizes of people rode the ride. So it looked like that there was a huge gap between, you've got the shoulder restraint, like I was talking about a minute ago, and then his legs, like he had a pretty big gap. So it seemed like the shoulder restraints came down like right here, and then his legs and his hips and everything were a lot bigger than like the seat. Like you had the leg divider, you have the seat, and you have the legs. And so there was a big enough gap between the shoulder restraint and the seat that somehow he was able to slide out that way. And that's mind-boggling, just to think that you could slide out of that. Because I'll sit in a ride sometimes that's like that, and I'm like, is there any way that I can slide out? And it's like, no, there's not. Like, it would be really hard to get out of this, like, at all. Like, even stationary. Like, it would be hard to get out of some of them. So the fact that he slid out of that is crazy. It's so crazy. I want to tell y'all a little story about why this, like, really bothers me. I mean, it bothers me no matter what, because I am really into theme parks, and this just scares me. Sorry, I thought of something else I'm gonna say. So my story goes as follows. I've always been enthusiastic about roller coasters, theme parks, rides, all sorts of stuff. I've always loved to play roller coaster tycoon games. I love to build the roller coasters, and I like to make a park for people, and it's always been fun for me. I have Planet Coaster. Can't play it right now because my computer is dead and sent off to get fixed, but anyway, I love those games. I have been back and forth with myself on if I like roller coasters or not, because I've had instances in my past, one in particular, that made me horrified to go on a ride again. For a long, long time. Not all rides, but most. So here's my story. when I was like 8, I was at a fair that was kind of close to my hometown. I think it was like a town over. It was just the regular old fair that would come every year, and it would hit up every single town around us that had a fairgrounds. It'd be like, it's here for 2 weeks, here for 2 weeks. You know how it goes. Traveling fair. And at one point, I had some friends convince me to go on the Ring of Fire, which was a Larson looper. And Larson loops, if you don't know, they're the big ring, right? That's why they call it like Ring of Fire, other names as well. But basically you get in the ride, and it acts like a roller coaster, but it's not a roller coaster. Like, it's similar to going in a loop in a roller coaster, but it's not really like a train with track. It's just, it's being dragged along. It's hard to explain. A lot of people do really good videos about this. I watch a lot of different people on YouTube that talk about flat rides and roller coasters and stuff. If you type in Larson Loop, you'll probably find several really good videos telling you what exactly a Larson Loop is. Or free fall drop tower. If you don't know anything about the free fall drop towers, you want to learn more about that and what happened with this kid, there's plenty of videos on that as well. Is it El Toro? What's his name? El Toro. Oh my God. It hasn't, is it 96? What is it? Is it, maybe it's the year he was born. I don't know. I think he does a lot of videos on flat rides. I could be wrong. I could be mistaken. But like I said, you can look it up and you'll find a whole bunch of videos. So it goes like a pirate ship at first, right? Like, it goes like this. It gets higher every time. It builds momentum. And then finally, when it gets enough momentum, it goes around the top. And then goes around the top. And then it starts to slow down again, loses momentum, comes back down. Well, this thing, I believe I barely made it on it. Like, I feel like I was shocked when they put me on it, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be tall enough. I've always been smaller, like, in height. Now I'm not obviously as small as I was, but for a long time I was the runt of my class. I have always been really tiny. I got picked on real easily and shoved around and stuff because I was so tiny and short. So usually for a while there, like at elementary school, before I hit puberty and like grew tall enough to ride, all the rides, it was usually the matter of, well, everybody else can ride this certain ride, but I can't, because I'm just barely not tall enough, and they're perfectly fine. And so that made for a lot of embarrassing situations. I hated even going up to rides with my social anxiety, because I was embarrassed if they turned me away. So a lot of times I would be like, oh, I just don't want to ride it. I just don't want to ride it. I just, like, oh, I'm just trying to be cool. Like, I just want to, I'm not going to ride it. But really it was because I hated waiting in line, going up there, and then they're like, ha, you're going to have to go back. Like, you can't ride this ride. It was just really embarrassing to me. And you don't understand when you're a kid why that they have those rules, but obviously they're in place for your safety. And it has a lot to do with, are you tall enough for the restraints? Are you too tall for the restraints? That's a thing too. And then sometimes weight is a factor. Weight can be a factor in if the train or the ride or whatever can actually complete the course that it needs to without interfering with the speed or the lift or the fall, or whatever it is. Weight can factor into that, but weight can also factor into just how big you are compared to the restraints. Are the restraints going to fit tight enough around you that you won't fall out? And that's just kind of how it is. And I hate it, but like, that's how it is. Some rides have, I'm sorry, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Some rides have, I believe some rides have like seats that will accommodate bigger guests. but I'm not sure on that. I think I've heard of some that do, but most don't, as far as I know. But I got on that ride, and I think it had like a lap bar with like a you know, rubber like grippy thing right here, like that was on the lap bar. And then it had a ceiling, but it was open air on the sides, but it had a ceiling. And I just remember when we got up to the top and we started like having airtime, I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I was going to fall out. This was going to be the end of my life. Like, this is it. Like, I was praying to Jesus. Like, holy crap. Because I started sliding, and it got to where like my hips hit that bar, but they were starting to kind of move, like to where my legs were kind of about to come out. Like my butt had like moved up, and like I realized that if my legs got straight enough that I would fall out. So I was doing my best I grabbed the hold of the whatever handle I had here, and then I put my hand up on the ceiling. Sorry, my phone is about to die. It was reminding me. I put my hand on the ceiling, and I just like pushed and tried to counteract the force to try to keep myself in the train. And I did it successfully. But I walked away that night saying, oh my God, I never want to go upside down again. I never want to go on anything that I know that there's a chance that I'll feel like I'm falling. Could I have been mistaken and had that just have been airtime? It might have been. It's been 20 years ago. I don't know. But at the same time, I felt like I was too close to actually sliding out. Like, I really just thought, this is not just me lifting out of my seat. This is my whole body, like, is about to come out. From that point on, I really don't ride a lot of carnival rides. I really don't anymore after what happened in Ohio. I'll talk about that in a second. But I never was really into drop towers. I rode the one, it's called the Space Shot in Huntsville, Alabama at the Space Center. And everybody would go there in 5th grade every year, right? Yeah. Every single year, 5th graders got to go on a field trip there. They got to spend the night. They got to go to the Space Center for a couple days, and it was all fun and games. And I did ride the Space Shot because I wanted to prove to everybody that I could, but I really didn't like it. I'm not a fan of falling. It's something that in a roller coaster gets resolved. Like, you have that resolve. Like, they teach you, like, in storytelling or whatever, how, you know, you climax and then down and then you resolve, right? But with the drop tower, it's just up and then down. You don't get to resolve it. Like, you just stop, you know? And that always freaks me out way more than a roller coaster does. I don't know why, because the roller coaster's got all these different dips and turns and stuff, which to some people would be scarier than the drop tower. But that's just my mentality and how weird I am, so I don't know. So I would ride occasional like water rides here and there, log flumes. Went to Disney when I was 11, rode Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain scared me because there isn't really much of a restraint, you know. I think they've changed it in more recent years, but when I rode it, it was scary because I was like, oh my God, like it's not a crazy restraint, you know, because they know the G-force is going to push you back into your seat on that one drop, and the rest of the ride's really tame. But I just remember, like, I'm like, this is it. This is the only, like, thing I have to hold on to, you know? So, always freaked me out. It doesn't freak me out anymore because I'm an adult, and when I go and I ride that, it doesn't bother me anymore because I realize that it's not as big and scary as it was when I was a kid. Anyway, so I was afraid to go upside down again until I was about 17, 18. We went on a marching band trip to Dollywood. I finally rode the Tennessee Tornado, and my fear was gone, as in I knew that it was safe and I would survive or whatever, all of these coasters. So I did start to ride roller coasters again, and I started to get really, really, really back into them. And I started riding them all the time, going to theme parks all the time. And I've been just marking roller coaster after roller coaster off my list for the last 6 or 7 years. And it's been awesome. I absolutely love going to theme parks. But I have, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I have learned a lot about roller coasters. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos. I follow a lot of coaster channels. And I've learned all about the safety, why there are block breaks, why there are certain restraints, why you can't go so high, why you can't have certain elements right back to back next to each other. There's so much that you can learn about ride safety and roller coaster safety. I do not like to go on flat rides anymore. They're not thrilling enough for me, but they also kind of scare me. I would go on the flat rides at a stable theme park any day over a carnival that gets taken down and taken to another place and then set up again. Those freak me out. They just really honestly freak me out. I don't usually ride carnival rides anymore if it's one of these, take it apart, set it up again, carnivals. And the reason I don't, something like this happened, I think it was the Ohio State Fair. And what was it? Was it 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? I don't know, but it was one of those, I forget what they're called. It's one of those rides where this big like pendulum is swinging you back and forth, right? And then there's a ring here and everybody's sitting around this ring, right? And it spins while it lifts you, right? And some of them go upside down, some of them don't, I think. But this was at the Ohio State Fair. And a whole section of the ride, of the seats, just fell off the ride. Like, it just fell. I can't remember if it was the whole pendulum. I think it was just part of it, maybe. But a lot of people died. A lot of people got hurt. And ever since that day, I've said no more carnival rides like that. Like, maybe a Ferris wheel, maybe. And maybe, I'll go on the merry-go-round or something. Maybe something small. But something like that, no. And that was a fair, obviously, that gets broken down and moved place to place. So that stuff freaks me out. And that has turned me against a lot of flat rides. It freaks me out. So anyway, that is another really, really morbid video. If you do, go watch it. It's not pleasant to watch, and it's just surreal. It's one of those moments that's kind of like watching 9/11 when it happened on TV, or the Columbia or the Challenger disasters. Like, it's just such a weird feeling that it's like a movie. It's like, it's not even real. Like, is this really happening? Like, this cannot really happen in real life. It's horrible. But anyway, I want to close this out by saying, I hope that this, which I'm sure it will in some form or fashion, I hope that this is a wake-up call for Orlando and for whoever is regulating, I think the agriculture association, whatever it is that is over the roller coaster safety and stuff. I just hope that everybody, engineers, crew, theme park staff, and owners, I just really hope that everybody takes this as a wake-up call that we need more safety precautions on some of the flat rides as well, because I feel like the roller coasters get a lot of attention when it comes to safety procedures and whatnot. And I just hope that, I hate that someone had to lose their life, a kid had to lose their life in order for this to happen, and it shouldn't have happened that way, but it did. So I just really hope that from here on out that they will investigate this. I know that they will. They'll investigate it. I hope that some kind of compensation is given to the family, even though I know that, nothing can replace the kid. I really hope that they get compensated in some way, which I'm sure they will. And through this investigation that we'll learn exactly what happened, and which, it's pretty obvious, but but we want to know exactly why the green light came on and said that they could go if he wasn't secure enough, you know, in the seat. I don't want anybody to say anything bad about the crew, because obviously they were just doing their job. They did everything they were supposed to do. I don't think it was them trying to be negligent. I just think that, you know, it was just one of those freak things. Like, the ride told them it was good to go. So they're like, this is what we've been trained to do. Okay. It just makes me feel so weird about going back to Orlando. I don't know if they will reopen it eventually or if they'll tear it down. I feel like it's one of those things where they probably will reopen it, but they've got to investigate, and then they've got to come up with the better safety procedures and stuff and make sure that it's safe again. So it could be, you know, a year or more or less before they open it again. If they do, I would never ride it after that. I mean, maybe decades down the road or something if it's still there, but like, I do not want to ride that. That's so morbid. I just don't know if many people would want to go back and ride it after that. I went to Six Flags over Georgia for the first time, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I mean, it's in Georgia. I've just never been. I just always went to Dollywood and Disney World and stuff instead. I just never really got to Six Flags. Six Flags is like, it's like maybe like, you know, what, like a C-list? You've got like the A-list places. You got like the B-list places. So you got like Disney World and Universal and stuff and Cedar Point. And then you've got like some other Cedar Fair parks and some stuff. They're a little more subpar. And then there's Six Flags, you know? When it comes to like safety and cleanliness and everything like that. So when I went to Six Flags, I rode Batman the ride, and this is the particular Batman the ride where the teenager lost his hat on the ride, and then when he got off the ride, jumped the fence and went to get his hat and got kicked by somebody that was on the ride, and it killed him. And, you know, I was thinking about that as we got in line, and I was just thinking how morbid this is that we're going to ride this ride. Like, I can't believe that people still ride this ride after that happened. And then we get closer to the ride, and there's the safety fence, and it's like, do not jump the fence, no matter what, don't do it. And then beside that sign was a hat. And I'm assuming it was probably the hat. And it's in remembrance, sorry, I can't talk, y'all, of the kid. And then that all just sank in. I'm sitting there waiting, you know, we're waiting like an hour to get on the ride. I'm looking at this hat, and I'm like, oh my God, like, that is really close to the ground. Like, where your feet go, it's not far. It's maybe like 4 or 5 feet from the ground, not even that. Like, it's not far. And I was just imagining it in my head, and I was like, how horrible would that have been to have been standing here and witness that, or to be on the ride when it happened. Like, I just can't fathom that, to be the ride operator as well. That one's a little less controversial when it comes to like people blaming people because he clearly did something he wasn't supposed to do, which it sucks, but he could have waited and told somebody, and they could have gone in there and got it. But nowadays we all know better than that because of him, so it happened for a reason, I guess, but it just sucks that somebody had to die for that to happen. But I just know how morbid that was, and then getting on the ride and then going through those elements right there where I figured that it happened, and it just felt really strange. Really, really strange. And I think that this free fall it'll bear that burden if it ever reopens again, and people will ride it, but I don't know. I don't know if I ever could. It's just really sad. And I'm sorry I talked about this for like 35 minutes, but I felt like brain dumping for a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm done talking about that. Again, thoughts and prayers with everybody involved. I really hope that they get a nice, clean investigation on this. They make sure it never happens again, and that the family gets compensated in some way, and that the crew, I hope that they get cleared in a way that will help to clear any guilt that they might have in their heads and in their hearts for this happening. And I hope that they will be able to move on and continue to do whatever they need to do with their lives, because I don't think it was their intention or their fault. And when it comes to, I'm about to hang up this video. I've been talking way too long. When I'm tired, I talk a lot. I really do. I get delirious. Always have done that. And the Will Smith and Chris Rock thing, that's what everybody's talking about now. That completely overshadowed this whole accident thing. Of course it did. I don't even know what to say. I just feel like it's so confusing. I don't want to go into like a long conversation about it, because everybody's so opinionated. Everybody just wants to argue about everything nowadays, and I hate that. I hate that it took like 9/11, like back in 2001, it took that for us to come together and love each other. And then 20 years later, we hate each other again. And I really hope that it doesn't have to take something really bad happening like that again to get everybody to stop hating each other. Anyway, when I watched the video, I had to find the one where he actually, like, it wasn't bleeped, because in America it's bleeped, because that's just how it goes. Found the uncensored version. It was just so weird. Like, he's laughing. Chris tells a joke. Will's laughing his ass off. He's just like, oh yeah, like super big laugh, like so happy, like so, he's laughing his ass off. And then here's Jada, and she goes, and looks over to him like, it's like she kind of laughed at first, but then she realized what the joke was, and then she's like, oh God. And so then she like looks at him. But then they cut the camera, so you can't see the end of it, right? You can't see like the moment that Will Smith realized that Jada was making that like eyes at him. We don't know. We don't see where he snapped into being angry because the camera cut. And then obviously he goes up there and he slaps him in the face. And then you think, well, I thought at first like, oh, well, that was just an act, because like I said, the camera had switched off of him, so you couldn't see what had happened in the moments between him laughing and him going up and slapping Chris Rock on the face. So immediately I thought, well, it's staged. But then he starts yelling at him. And when it came to like the first sentence, I was like, oh, well, maybe this is still staged. But then he said it again, like, keep my wife's name out your mouth. And I was like, yeah, that was real. And everybody was shocked. You could see Lupita Nyong'o like sitting at the table behind. And like, she's like in the middle of the frame there. And I was very focused on her. I believe it was her, right? Yeah. And she was sitting right there. And you could just see her being like, oh my God. Like, she was shocked. Like, I'm sitting right next to this. I'm feeling this energy. Like, holy crap. And I can't imagine. A lot of people have done really good articles on it, though, and I really don't think that I have room to speak on this right now, because I feel like everybody's already said everything that needs to be said. I think it could have been dealt with in a different way. I do think that possibly that Jada has had a lot of influence on Will. Obviously, she has cheated on him. She has been with other guys, and I think that Will might have a little bit of the need to prove himself to her. Maybe he feels the need to take up for her or whatever, because he wants to make sure that she doesn't get with anybody else again. But then again, they've said they have an open marriage. I don't understand. Like, everything's confusing. She said that she has gotten to the point where she laughs at her illness and that she has accepted it or whatever with alopecia, but then she was mad, and then he was. I don't understand it. It's all really weird, and it doesn't look good on him at all. But I've had people fighting all over Facebook about it. Some people saying he should have done it. Some people saying he shouldn't have done it. I don't think that violence is the way to solve anything. I really don't. Now, obviously, we've had to go to war and stuff, and that's a little different. That's like, at least in my opinion, it's like, well, they attacked us, so we attacked back, like 9/11. If someone punches you and you feel like that they're going to kill you, obviously, you don't want to sit there and take it. Obviously, you're going to fight back. I mean, that is not a question. But this was not a threat. Like, this wasn't like Chris threatening his life or whatever, or her life or whatever. It was a joke, and then he got violent because of the joke. And I read one article that said, like, this looks bad on the African American community, it looks bad on, you know, Hollywood, it looks bad on like women being able to take up for themselves. Like, it just looks bad on so many levels. And I understand that. I get that, because it's taken a lot to get to where we are today, and we're still working on it when it comes to race inclusion in Hollywood and in the movies, and who hosts the show, and who votes on who wins the awards and stuff. So that's come a long way. And so has women, like women fighting to get paid more and to get paid what they deserve to get paid equally with men. Also women being able to be like strong, individual, independent people, and to be able to take up for themselves as well. It kind of backtracks on that a little bit. That article was good. If I find it, I'll put it in the description. I don't know if I can find it again. There's just so many people talking about it right now. But I hate that that happened as well. I don't know. If you have any thoughts, be nice in the comments below. I don't want anybody arguing. Again, violence and anger is not the answer. We all get angry sometimes, but just try to be nice in the comments if you do comment. Yeah, we can talk about this stuff. Be nice to anybody that was involved in the Icon Park accident as well. Don't crap over, like, that's a bad way to put that. Don't send hate toward the crew, the guy that was filming, just don't. This is obviously something that's going to get investigated, and it's going to get figured out in some way, and it's just going to suck for everybody involved. It sucks right now for everybody involved. So anyway, I haven't done one of these heart-to-heart videos in a while, and for once it was something that was not rooted in my life. You know, I mean, obviously I had a story to tell y'all that related to it, but it wasn't some kind of weird drama that happened in my life. It's just me kind of talking about things that happened this past weekend. But I'm gonna go. I don't want to say I hope you enjoyed the video, because that's not what this was for. This was kind of informational. But if you like these type of videos at all, I will continue to do them on certain things and brain dump on y'all, I guess. But make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I do music, originals, and covers. I do these type of videos where they're more personable. I do travel vlogs, and I have been doing this whole Poshmark thing. So subscribe, like, comment, do all those things if you want to come back and see me here every day or two or so. I'm trying to be more frequent. My computer's broken though, so I'm gonna have to work my way around that as best I can when it comes to editing on my phone right now. But yeah, thank you for watching. Sending out my thoughts and prayers again to everybody involved in everything that I just talked about, and I really hope that both events were wake-up calls in both scenarios to their separate groups of people, to the theme park people and to the Hollywood community. I just hope that this is a wake-up call and that they will both learn something from what happened. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully the next one doesn't have to be something serious. Hopefully it's lighthearted and fun and we can laugh and enjoy ourselves. But thank you for listening to my late night rant. I'm gonna go to bed now. Actually, I'm probably not, because for some reason I can't sleep at night. So I'll probably work on my Poshmark and then I'll go to sleep. All right. I'll see you soon.